Earlier this year, I was just outside of Phoenix, Arizona to try out the all-new 5th generation Ram 1500. Now back then, I raved about its comfortable interior, very luxurious cabin, and impressive 12-inch infotainment screen. Now, the only thing I really complained about was kind of the performance of the optional 5.7-liter Hemi V8, and today they've flown me and a bunch of other journalists to try out the all-new eTorque Ram. This is the mild hybrid V8, said to improve fuel economy by about 10% and add about 130 foot-pounds of torque off the line. So the big question is this new mild hybrid pickup truck the future of trucks? That's what we're here to find out. So in my last video, you guys saw me talk about the exterior design of this all-new truck. FCA or Ram really softened the overall look, and they did that because they were trying to improve the aerodynamics, which they claim are best in class, all in the name of fuel efficiency. For this review, I decided to show you guys a slightly different trim. This is the Laramie trim, like my last version. However, this has the optional Sport Appearance package for $2,400. It basically takes all the chrome that I don't really like and makes them body colored, especially in this flame red exterior color. It's a really handsome looking truck. You can see the front end of this all new 5th generation does have the company's new grille. This is the new Ram grille. It replaces the old crosshair grille. You're going to basically notice that when you first look at this all new generation. There's 3 different headlights available, from a base halogen to a full LED to an adaptive full LED that you get on the Laramie Longhorn and the limited trims. These are the headlights that most people are probably going to get. You basically have just an LED multi-reflector instead of the 4 projectors, and then you have an LED running light. Down here you also have LED fog lights, and I really like the red painted or the body colored painted bumpers. Down here you also have an active front air dam that comes down to kind of help with the aerodynamics. The Ram in general sits a lot lower on the front versus the new Sierra that I just reviewed. Personally, I think the GMC is the best looking, but I really like actually what the Ram looks like when you kind of get it with the Sport Appearance package. Now the hood also, it's the new hood this year. It's kind of got that new dual power dome. The Sport package gives you the black accents here with the Ram 1500 Hemi 5.7 badging. These are actually not functional. You don't actually get any heat extraction from them, but they look cool, and I also like how they, it contrasts with the red exterior color that this gives you. Now the Ram, when it was redesigned, they actually increased the size for the crew cab models, 4-inch stretch in the wheelbase. This one here is the short bed, so it's the 5'7" box. So the wheelbase at 144.5 inches long, and at 231 inches long, or 232 inches long, this is a little bit longer than the new GMC Sierra that I tested, but the wheelbase is a tad shorter by about 3 inches. Now, with the Sport Appearance package, you get these really nice looking 20-inch wheels with kind of like the two-tone finish with the chrome and then the polished look. It comes with all-terrain tires as well if you guys go for the off-road package. Now, Ram does offer a wheel size that differs from like 18 all the way up to a 22. Just keep in mind the 22-inch wheels do not offer the off-road all-terrain tires, so if you guys want that feature, I highly recommend that. Now, just like every other truck, you can get it in several different bed configurations and cab lengths. Right now, Ram does not offer a regular cab. You can either choose between a quad cab, which is the half doors, or the full-size crew cab like this particular one. Now, at the rear, again, you have different styles of taillights. These have the full LED taillights, where you have the LED brake light, turn signal, and then the LED running light. The blind spot monitor is housed right here in the rear tailgate assembly, which is nice. And then the tailgate itself is now aluminum, which helps save 15 pounds of weight. Now, down here again, you have body colored bumpers and then a nicely integrated sport exhaust, which Ram was technically one of the first brands to actually give you a dual exhaust. And then the tailgate itself, it's now hydraulically assisted. You can kind of open and close it with the remote fob. When you do that, you can see it doesn't slam, which is nice. But the tailgate itself definitely doesn't have the innovative features that we saw on the Multi-Pro tailgate that GMC offers. But what the Ram does give you is a huge amount of space. Now this tonneau cover here is $500 extra. I highly recommend that if you guys want to, hide your stuff in the tailgate. But just like the Sierra that I tested, it's very usable, very wide. They widened the space in here to give you guys a little bit more cargo room whenever you're planning to do some hauling with this vehicle. Now, payload capacity has also been improved. The Ram will carry up to 2,330 pounds, which I believe is around 400 pounds more than what you can do in the all-new GMC Sierra and Silverado. So the last generation Ram was the first truck to introduce smart key access system with push button start. You can see Ram has a new key fob for the truck. It's basically the same key that I showed you in my last review, minus the fact that there's no air suspension button here to lower the truck, but it does have remote operation of the tailgate, or you can also activate the remote start by pushing that button twice here. And you can see it starts right up like a regular truck. This is not a hybrid. It still has a nice starter noise, and if you want to shut off the engine, just touch the button twice here, it'll shut off the truck for you. Now, as you approach the new Ram, you're gonna notice there's a black button on the door handle here. If you just touch the button here, that locks the door. If you wanna unlock it, Ram puts a little sensor on the back of the handle, just touch it, and then it'll open the door for you. And then my tester has the power deploying running boards, as I said earlier, which do make getting in the truck a lot easier. Now, for just the Laramie interior, this interior, again, is still class leading. The materials, craftsmanship, the technology, Ram has really raised the bar. I love the seats that you get on the Laramie trim with the suede Alcantara, the contrasting stitching. They're really comfortable. They're also heated and cooled, and you get like a 12-way power adjustment for the driver's seat with a 2-person memory, which is great. Now, to get into the truck, there's a nice grab handle here to get in. Just kind of use the side step and then kind of hoist your way in. Now, getting into the interior, you can see really impressive looking interior, just a new level of luxury and feel that I really was disappointed in the new Sierra, because it was kind of missing that. Now, when you shut the door, new platform, so the doors feel nice and heavy. They have a nice solid thunk to them. Now, to start the truck up, put your foot on the brake and then push the button here to fire up the engine. Now, the gauges do a nice sweep. They kind of have a combination with an LCD screen in the center. And again, this is not a hybrid, it's a traditional V8. The eTorque system just adds a little bit of power down low to help with start stopping, but we'll go into that test drive later on. Now, looking at the rest of the interior here, I want to take a look at a few things. Now, first of all, this one has the standard 8.4-inch display. This is the 8.4 Uconnect. It's part of the Level 2 upgrade package. This display is basically similar to what you've seen in other FCA products. If you guys go for the 12-inch, which I showed you in my other review, be sure to click on the link in the description below to reach that. It'll replace these buttons here with with another basically screen. That 12-inch screen, totally huge, very class leading. Love that screen, but most of you probably may end up with this screen, and this one also isn't bad. You can see here, there's all your usual apps that FCA does. The way the layout works, you can rearrange these apps. So if I wanted to move the heated wheel, I can basically just drag it and put it right there. That's really great. The screen itself, really high resolution, really quick to respond touchscreen. The navigation screen, you can see here, let's go to the map display. It's basically a Garmin-based GPS. It has the pinch, zoom, swipe capability. It's a really high resolution, beautiful looking display. I think a lot of owners are going to be impressed with that, even if you guys don't shell out the extra money for the big screen. The transmission selector, you can see it's still that rotary dial here, just like in the other video I showed you. It's an 8-speed automatic. If you put the vehicle into reverse, you get a 360 camera still with really great views. It has front and rear trajectory, which is great. You do have the availability of automatic parallel parking, which this one also has. If you push that button, it'll find a parking space for you. That's a really great feature. Some people may not like the rotary dial, but it's something you kind of get used to, and it also takes up a little bit less space in the dashboard. Now, the materials here, you can see all genuine stitching here, soft touch. It's all in this upper part of the dash. It is even soft touch down here. You have a nice little extra glove compartment there, which is actually lined in felt. The glove compartment here is also huge, lined in felt. It's nice. There's some interesting textured aluminum look trim here. And remember, if you guys go for the upper trims, you'll get things like real wood grain, more aluminum trim. Now, the door panels are also soft touch. On this portion right here, there's a nice aluminum accented door handle here, more carbon fiber look trim because of the sport trim. You have power folding mirrors on this particular one right here, which is great. Really helps to kind of shrink this truck because it's such a wide vehicle. The windows are one-touch automatic up-down for the drivers and front window, but not for the back window. I believe the upper trim gives you that feature, so there's a reason why you may want to choose that. Now, my tester also has the 19-speaker Harman Kardon premium audio system. 900 watts of power. It's the best sounding audio system I've heard in the whole segment. So you guys definitely want to try that out if you're an audiophile. Now, the steering wheel, it's not power tilt telescoping like in the upper trims, but the gauges here have their own unique look to them with the Laramie trim. You have all these different buttons right here, your adaptive cruise control buttons here, because my tester has that safety tech package. And then behind the steering wheel here, you have even more controls for the windows or for the audio controls. Now, down here, you can see lots of storage, lots of USB ports right there, and 2 USB-C ports. A wireless charging here that'll fit 2 phones, which is great. Big amounts of storage here. You can slide this forward and back. And then this armrest here gives you another USB there. It's all lined in felt. You have even more storage back here, which is huge. Ram says this is actually the most amount of storage you get in the center console compared to everything else. It's a nice padded armrest right here, which is great. Above you, this $1,200 sunroof is really fantastic. This truck and the Ford are the only ones that give you that feature, so it's a really great feature. The cooled seats, I found them to work really well. They get extremely cold, so you guys make sure you turn that down if you don't like really cold seats. Down here, you can see all these toggles here for the active park assist, for the stability control off. If you guys had the air suspension, you can kind of adjust the level of the air suspension through the toggle here. But overall, this interior, from the commanding view to the impressive tech to the great quality and craftsmanship, I mean, Ram has truly outdone themselves, and you don't even necessarily have to get the all-out, Laramie Longhorn or Limited to get the full-on experience. So for this new generation, Ram has stretched the wheelbase by about 4 inches, and they say 3 inches of that went into the backseat space. So let's get back here and find out if that's really the case. Now, first of all, my tester has those nice power deployable running boards, which make getting in and out of it really easy. And at a glance, I mean, check this out. This space easily rivals full-size sedans that a lot of people are actually trading in to get these big trucks. So I can see exactly why these are the perfect family vehicles. Now, getting in, there's a nice handle here. The step comes down nice and low for short people like myself. And getting back here, wow, it's cavernous. Actually, at 45 inches of legroom, this is more legroom than what you get in the front seats. And I really love the flat floor down here, which really makes it easy to fit 3 people across. A body that's 82 inches wide also makes makes for plenty of room for you to stretch out. And this one being the Laramie trim, you get a lot of features. You get rear seat vents, you have 2 USB ports, 2 USB-C ports, and you have 3 level heated seats. Now, if you guys go for the top of the line Limited or Laramie Longhorn, you'll also get cooled seats in the back. This is the only truck in the segment, I believe, to give you cooled seats in the rear, so that's fantastic. Now, you can see getting back here, I mean, look at this space. It's like a limo back here. I can cross my legs, I can stretch out pretty much. We have plenty of headroom. Even though the sunroof here, the pano sunroof does take up space, there's plenty of headroom here. I love the fact that Ram offers a pano sunroof. And if you guys only have 2 people back here, you can kind of fold this down and give you, a nice little armrest here with storage, cup holders. Now, if you guys are wondering, where's the battery for the eTorque system? Well, Ram, because it's only a 12 cell battery, they actually position it right behind this seat back here in between the cab and the bed. So they say it doesn't take up any interior space, and I definitely believe them. Now, in typical pickup truck fashion, you can also lift up this seat here, and it gives you plenty of storage underneath there. And the floor itself, it's really low. And if you guys just need to carry cargo, don't use the rear seats, the Ram offers plenty of room for sure. So underneath the hood of the eTorque model, this is probably where you guys were really curious about. Unlike the normally aspirated or just the regular gas 5.7, this basically what it does is it replaces the alternator with this 48 volt electric motor. Now, Ram does not like you calling this thing a hybrid because honestly, it's not really a hybrid. I'll show you guys what I mean, at least out on the test drive. At launch, this thing is also available in a 3.6 liter Pentastar, which comes standard with the eTorque. That makes 305 horsepower. This still makes 395 horsepower and 410 pound-feet of torque. Now, what the eTorque system does is it adds 130 pound-feet of torque, basically right as soon as you touch the throttle. And that torque is just there to help spin up the engine because the eTorque system, kind of think of it more as a next generation of start-stop technology, which again, I will demonstrate later on in the test drive. Now, fuel economy, that's what's the most improved factor with this mild hybrid system. FCA charges about $1,500 for it, but you do get a 2 mpg improvement. This is now rated at 17 in the city, 22 on the highway on regular gas. It has a 33-gallon fuel tank. The regular gas V8 is only rated at 1520. So you do get a nice jump, especially in the city. And I'll talk about the fuel economy, what I'm getting in the real world when we go out into the test drive. Now, this vehicle is rather heavy, but Ram did reduce the weight by about 225 pounds. As this one sits, it's around 5,500 pounds. It'll tow a maximum of 12,750 pounds. This particular one probably does around 11,000 because it's not the config that's designed to tow the most. Paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission, let's get out on the road and see how the eTorque V8 performs, shall we? So a few months ago when I was in Phoenix, I had a chance to just drive the regular 5.7 Hemi, and I found the power to be adequate, but it still was kind of missing something. So now we're finally in the eTorque V8, and let's see how this one feels compared to just the non-mild hybrid version. Now, Ram was very adamant about stressing the fact that this eTorque hybrid system isn't like a traditional hybrid. And really what it comes down to is when you're driving the vehicle, you kind of feel like it kind of fills in some gaps at lower RPMs where it kind of gives you a feeling of a little bit additional power, but that 130 foot-pounds of torque doesn't actually show up in the power band of the V8. The V8 still will take over. This thing does not start out in electric-only mode like a hybrid would, so the gas engine's always on. What the eTorque does, however, is it does allow for the start-stop system to be the best start-stop system I've ever tried. So to show you that, I'm going to come to a stop here. And the engine doesn't even shut off. You'll still kind of come to a stop and coast. As soon as you put your foot down, the engine shuts off there, and you kind of barely notice it turn off. And unlike most other start-stop systems, the engine itself is so quick to restart. It's probably the first time where I'm going to say that people who don't like start-stop systems are not going to turn it off because it's so unnoticeable. And that's kind of the benefit of the eTorque system. As soon as I lift off the brake, the engine just kind of seamlessly starts up. And honestly, every other start-stop system is now just behind. Ram has really elevated the start-stop to a new level, and this is kind of where I think the future of trucks is going to go, because, you know, truck owners, they don't care about hybrid systems in general, at least not in their truck. They don't want to have hybrid badges everywhere showing that this is a green car, which is exactly why Ram doesn't put any hybrid badges on this vehicle. They don't even like it if you call it a hybrid. They don't want you to call it a hybrid. Instead, think of the eTorque system as a replacement for the alternator that allows the start-stop system to take it to another level where it's so quick to start up, it's so imperceptible. And then the 130 foot-pounds of torque, the only thing it really does is it kind of fills in the gaps right at startup. So right as soon as you take your foot off the brake and go to the accelerator, that 130 foot-pounds of torque kind of helps spin the engine to get it going, so that way you don't have to feel any of that shudder, any of that delay that you typically feel with those start-stop systems. But as you can see, in terms of acceleration, it doesn't really feel all that quick at the top end. I mean, the 5.7 liter still makes 395 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque. You know, compared to the one that I drove out in Phoenix, there are times where I do notice this thing feels a little bit quicker than the base V8. It's a little bit hard to tell. I wouldn't be able to tell without driving the two back to back. Really, what this system mainly adds is the ability, you know, to have the start-stop and have it be really, really good at it, because the base V8 doesn't offer start-stop. This powertrain is still paired up with an 8-speed automatic transmission, which has really nice quick shifts. Doesn't shift quite as snappy as the new 10-speed that I've driven in the Ford and the GMC Sierra, but it's a great transmission. A lot of owners aren't going to really notice that. Now, of course, a lot of journalists were curious, does this improve the 0 to 60 time of, you know, the Ram? They didn't want to say anything. They said, we'll leave that up to your testing. Again, I think most owners are probably going to notice that it feels a little bit quicker. There's a little bit more power here and there, but it's not something that you're going to really, you know, notice out in the real world quite as much in terms of like acceleration times. With the Ram's Hemi offers plenty of power, although I do prefer, you know, the pull that you get from the bigger 6.2 in the Sierra, or Ford with their 3.5 EcoBoost. This is pretty comparable to like the 5.3 that's in the Sierra, or like the 2.7 EcoBoost in the F-150. Maybe a little bit more power, but you get that nice V8 noise. and you have a really great shifting transmission. What the Ram really excels at still is, excellent ride quality, excellent, very comfortable ride quality because it's got that coil spring suspension. This one doesn't even have the air suspension, but I have to say it rides smoother than the new Sierra that I just drove out in Newfoundland. And you know what? That's what makes the Ram such an excellent, refined truck. It feels exactly like the luxury offering of the segment because it's so quiet. You can kind of get out on the highway, like in this situation where most people would own it, and it has very little wind noise, very little road noise. It tracks really nice. It feels really spacious in here, great visibility. And it's kind of where Ram again has kind of raised the bar and delivering that kind of luxury car feel that some of the pickup truck buyers really demand, especially if you're trading in like a Mercedes-Benz S-Class or a luxury sedan. A lot of pickup truck buyers do trade in from a luxury sedan to something like this because it offers more room, all the capability, the off-road ability, and you still have the ability to carry your family because the back seat in this thing is the largest in the segment. Now the steering, like I said in my last Ram review, it's electric power steering. It's typical truck steering. The active lane keep assist in this truck also works pretty well. It does steer. Ram is one of the few that does offer the full driver assistance stuff with the adaptive cruise control with full stop and go. You can't even get that feature in the all-new Sierra or Silverado, which is a huge mistake for GMC. The panoramic sunroof, that's an option, also adds lots of light. The seats are very comfortable. You can kind of get in this truck and just drive it for miles and miles and you wouldn't even notice how far you were going. And the engine itself, while it may not be the drag racing king of the segment, I kind of wish that Ram would offer the 6.4 Hemi. There are rumors that they are working on a Hellcat powered Ram, so that should be something that's very interesting. I love how FCA is kind of on this Hellcat all the things streak. Now, fuel economy is also probably an area that a lot of eTorque customers are curious about. And at 1722, the MPG is about 2 MPG better than the just regular gas V8. Now, I'm on a media drive here, so I'm on a very short drive loop. But I will say in the last 50 miles that I put on this truck, the trip computer said it was averaging around 18 miles to the gallon, which is almost the same as what I got when I had the week's worth of driving with the 2.7 EcoBoost F-150, which was doing like 19. So this eTorque V8 offers better efficiency actually than the 3.5 EcoBoost F-150, which is rated at like 1621. So it's really good to see Ram upping the game there. So you don't necessarily have to downsize to a twin turbo V6 if you still want V8 power and decent gas mileage. Again, as soon as you lift off the brake, go to the accelerator, there is no delay, and that's all because of the 48 volt eTorque system adding in that 130 foot-pounds of torque to kind of spin up the engine to get it ready for it to take over the driving and acceleration situations that most people are demanding when they have a truck like this. And it's surprising actually because most people again don't like the start-stop feature, but it does a really good job of making you forget that this truck even has it. Now, another thing that FCA also wanted to mention is the eTorque system at higher RPMs can kind of fill in the gaps between the shift points with the 8-speed auto. When you do feel, I did feel at times when it would shift gears, there was like another extra surge of torque, because the two systems can interact together from time to time. But again, it's very unnoticeable for most truck buyers. If you've never driven the base 5.7 V8, you'll kind of get into this and think, oh wow, this truck has plenty of power. And that's exactly what Ram wanted you to think when you get in this truck. It offers a lot of the luxury features that you thought you'd never wanted in a pickup truck. It has pretty decent amount of power, although I still kind of wish they would offer an even bigger engine with over 450 horsepower or something like that. And it's got a great smooth shifting 8-speed automatic that doesn't have the most gears, but it'll still get the job done. And most pickup truck buyers don't really care to have something that's really snappy with its shift programming like the 10-speed and some of the competitors for this truck. With visibility, great. You have all the tech features, that huge 12-inch screen you can get. The Ram still, for me, is definitely one of the top players, and now with the eTorque model, you basically get the efficiency of the Ford's EcoBoost engine, but you don't have to go downsize to something with 6 cylinders. You can still get all 8. So with so many trucks to choose from in this segment, where does it leave the all-new Ram? Now, as I said earlier in my last review of this truck, I was really impressed with the interior, the ride quality, the luxurious features, and really what Ram has addressed is kind of my issue with the normally or the regular base V8. It kind of was a little bit lacking in low-end torque, and with the mild hybrid eTorque system, it really has addressed that issue of mine and given the Ram a little bit more power to kind of do battle with, you know, the upper engine offerings from the Ford and the Chevy. As you guys saw from the rest of this video, the start-stop technology is kind of next generation. It's really going to raise the bar in that. The styling of the truck looks really great in this sport appearance package and the Laramie trim, which is technically the trim that most of you are going to buy. And the payload capacity, the tow rating, the interior space. This is just one excellent all-around truck that I think a lot of people are going to find a lot to like with it. So if you guys are in the market for a pickup truck, what's it going to cost to put the all-new Ram in your driveway? Well, as I said in my last video, this truck still starts at $31,645. You guys already know that. The eTorque system, the upcharge is just $1,500. That's honestly not a lot of money considering the fact that you get the 2 mpg increase, the extra torque, you know, filling in the gaps to make this truck feel a little bit more quick, and you have an interior that's really, you know, class leading in terms of luxury and the tech. Now this one of course is not $31,000. That's for the base model. If you guys want a Laramie, that's going to at least cost you about $40,000. Ram charges you around $3,000 if you guys want four-wheel drive. The Laramie crew cab is around $2,500 extra versus the quad cab. This one has a plethora of options considering a lot of trucks offer options, from the sport appearance package for $2,600. The Hemi V8 and eTorque is about $2,600 because remember, just the Hemi V8 is $1,200 on its own. The panoramic sunroof is $1,200. The upgraded wheels and tires are a little bit more. I mean, this truck as it sits is around $64,000, which I know is a lot of money. Actually, you could probably get a fully loaded limited for around $67,000, which is probably the one I would go with. This one is missing the big, you know, 12-inch display for $1,000, which is highly recommended for me. But all in, I mean, at $64,000, it's right in line with the all-new Sierra, the all-new Silverado, the new F-150. And if you guys are looking for the most innovative truck with the, you know, innovative suspension with the air suspension, the big screen, this one for me is still at the top of its game. But I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2019 Ram 1500 eTorque. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all in the next video.